Good afternoon, Sam.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, of course. Now I'm excited. It'll be fun, and I feel like there's so much to dive into.
I know.
And it's funny too. Like you do these podcasts, you do these lives, whatever. Sometimes you've never met the person, and obviously knowing you as well as I do, like it's us hanging out talking. But
exactly.
I'm excited.
Yeah, it's like we're at track 5 having a cup of coffee, right?
There
How
you
about
go. A cappuccino the size of our head.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness. So I have known you, for the audience. So I've known you for quite a few years now. You were the coach that kicked my butt when we were doing that, right? And you were also the coach that encouraged me to do the morning run team, and I'm not a runner. And because of you, LD and I still run hills. The hill that I didn't think I was ever going to be able to do, because you like to do, you like to help people believe in themselves. So thank you for that. It's a little nod to you, because I didn't think I could. So anyway, so introduce yourself. Tell folks who don't know, who aren't from Westfield and don't know you, who you are, where you live, what you do.
So Sam Tooley, I am owner of Alpha Fit Club, which is a group fitness concept here in Westfield. Owner of what we're now kind of calling the Garage. It is transformed from Alpha Performance to the Garage, which is kind of just like a private training facility for honestly what I consider to just be like-minded people who like to do their thing and get after it. Right down the road from Alpha Fit Club, and then fortunate to be an online endurance coach for athletes pretty much all over the world, from Australia to Switzerland to all over the US. I've probably coached, and it's actually something I kind of want to go back and count, but I've probably coached hundreds and hundreds of endurance athletes all over the world, and at all levels. So first time 5K peeps and people who might not consider themselves runners. And I definitely remember you cursing at me well over your breath as you charged up the hill. To, as of late, been fortunate enough to coach Olympic trial qualifiers, Ironman World Championship qualifiers, and so a full spectrum. And I have also kind of doubled down and done some mindset coaching and things like that. So, the premise of all of these businesses and everything that I've got going on, as you said, is to the underlying why is to help people believe in themselves, and really just kind of stems from having been in a place where I lost that and lost all hope and lost the ability to believe in myself, and having worked really, really hard to regain that. Fortunate enough to have a ton of support as well as I kind of embarked on that journey. It's just something super important to me, and it comes honestly very naturally. And it's just something I'm super passionate about.
That's amazing. So tell us the story about Alpha Fit Club.
So Alpha, in general, the first one, right, the OG as we call it, was a 500 square foot gym right in town pretty much. And it was a squat rack, a treadmill, and myself and my dog, right? And I would kind of like rope people into coming to train. I was just came home and trying to figure out my life. I was, as I said, like for a long time, I was pretty lost and just was not with a sense of purpose and direction that I was fortunate to kind of come to. And to be transparent, like had recently just gotten sober, right? And so kind of had like a falling from grace. And the running joke was that I peaked in high school and in Westfield, and was a state champion cross country runner, track and field athlete, one of the fastest kids to ever come through Westfield, which is a historic program. And we were super successful, the best team in school history when I was here. So just kind of had it going on and felt like I had a path laid out for me, and a really great outlet as well. I had, even while I was achieving success on and off the track, had a really broken home, riddled with addiction and divorce and you name it. It just wasn't a place I wanted to be. Right. I got to take it out on track and take it out when I ran. And my coach, at the time was like, "You are the angriest runner I've ever seen in my life." He's like, "But just harness that," and was fortunate enough to have a really incredible coach who knew how to get the best out of you. And that, for me, I just looked up to him. I admired how he knew how to tap into people. And I think it's a massive part of why I do what I do now. So fast forward after a really difficult stretch in college where I lost the framework of running, of showing up for practice and having a team. And I just needed an outlet. I needed something to call my own. And so when I came home, my dad looked at me and he's like, "What do you want to do? Like, what is it? You name it. What do you want to do?" And was fortunate to have somebody who was so supportive. And I just said, the only thing that I can think of right now is to coach. Like, I just want to coach. I want to help kids kind of see that they're capable of maybe more than that they know. Like my coach had helped me. And so came home to coach. And during that first season, my dad passed away super suddenly. And so here it was, like, he's like, guiding me to whatever I want to do. And, he was taken from us way too soon, and kind of had to take a step back and said, how am I going to support myself? And so part of that was starting my Instagram account, laughably so, and just kind of saying, okay, I'm going to start coaching runners all over. But part of me was also scared to have just an online business. And so after a few months of kind of putting myself out there, coaching some adults locally. And I was like, like, you know what? Like, I think I can do this. And I think this could be a job, laughably so. And so I signed the lease to this tiny gym. And that was the first step. It certainly wasn't without its hurdles and roadblocks after the fact, but that's how it started. And there's so much more that we can dive into after signing the lease. But it certainly was, the first step. And again, it was kind of just in line with what felt right, and it was kind of just trusting my gut and saying, I'm going to bet on myself. I'm going to do, I'm going to make my dad proud, right? Who was super supportive, and I'm going to keep pushing forward. And also, again, just kind of like show these kids who I'm coaching, show my brother, show my family, like, life's going to punch you in the face and you can punch back.
Right. It's amazing. And I think, honestly, that's where you get your grit, is everything that you have been through. And, so when COVID came along, there's a lot of businesses that were hit really hard, and the fitness industry was no different. And I think about all the gyms that have been just trying to stay alive, stay afloat. And you, on the other hand, you're growing. So can you tell us a little bit about, like, holy smokes, how are you growing in a situation like this? And what did you do to pivot?
So, I would say it comes with some caveats, right? Because yes, we in theory are growing. We have signed leases to 3 new locations. And really it was work that we were doing prior to COVID that we've just kind of taken a step back and said, you know what, we're going to keep pushing forward on. And so admittedly, so we could come out of this like a bunch of bozos, or we could be very smart. And I think, we're making calculated decisions on why we're going to continue to push forward. We've built in language to protect ourselves in case COVID continues onward, and amplifies. But at the end of the day, for us as a business, and for me as really the head of that business, my resounding takeaway from all of this is that we are building something that people need in their lives and are craving, which is community, and a place that they can feel supported, and a place that they can, just kind of push themselves past their self-proclaimed limits, which, I say time and time again, because I mean it and it's true, is the job to me of a coach. And something that when we opened Alpha Fit Club, which again is a group fitness concept, I admittedly thought group fitness was stupid. People kept coming to me because they got hurt in group fitness classes, because there was too many people in the class, because the trainers were underqualified. And it was one of those things where I said, if we're going to do this, we're going to solve all of the problems that have presented themselves through people's experiences. So we hired the best trainers. We, got the best equipment. We really were careful with our programming. Like, we made sense. And it isn't the most lucrative business model, right? It's not going to be the gym that makes the most money, but I think it's the gyms that'll have the biggest impact, right? Which I think is a great big business plan. So we took a step back and we said, we're going to keep doing this. And we were able to raise some capital to, put the framework in place to go attack, locations that made sense for the concept and demographics and all that jazz in terms of the business side. But really that was it. It was listening to our gut, listening to our people who were currently members saying like, man, there's something missing in my day. And in the interim as well, like we've done everything under the sun to make right now, because we are absolutely hurting. We've made it right now work, right? We do outdoor classes, Zoom workouts, IGTV, you name it. And, we've been able to grow our membership for our outdoor classes to over 200 people, and 110 of those people are new. So wow. If we somehow got everybody back, right? And not everybody's going to be ready to do that, but if we got everybody back, we would be well over 400 members, which wow. is for a small boutique fitness studio in the middle of, the suburbs of New Jersey, that's 1 year old. You got to be doing something pretty special. Right. And as investors started to look at us, as prospective franchisees started to look at us, they were like, well, this is Sam's town. So can it go beyond that, right? Right. That was why they were tentative. And I said, listen, at the end of the day, if I look around this gym, I notice two things. One, it's packed. And if your shit sucks, they ain't coming. Doesn't matter how much they like you, right? If you're a terrible cook and you own a restaurant, but they like you as a human, they still aren't going to eat your stuff, right? So we got to have something going on. And second, and probably most important for me, is that I look around the gym and I don't know these people, I'm slowly becoming not the face of the gym. It's the gym is becoming much bigger than me, as it should, because we have an amazing team that is pushing this thing forward just as much as the community within the walls is. So I might be the little maestro in the background, tugging some strings and making some stuff happen, but it is a team that is pushing this thing forward, who embody a certain value set that, yes, I'm hoping has stemmed from the top.
That's amazing. What, Sam, what are you doing what are the measures? I mean, like I go to the garage when I go. Yep. What are the measures you put in place to have people feel safe in your gym?
Yeah. So again, we're trying to keep it outside for as long as we can. We've gotten really creative with bringing the equipment from inside the gym to out, which takes us over an hour to set up in the morning and in the evening. So we've added 4 hours of work to our trainers' plate every single day to put on the same product for less money. And that's why I talk about this team sacrificing. Like I've not heard one peep about anything other than like, let's make the class better. How can we do this? How can we do that? They're just invested in the success of the brand and our members as a whole. Super special. So we're keeping the classes outside. We want to get fresh air as much as we can. We're fortunate enough to have our own parking lot, so we just can space everything out, like to the point that they probably can't hear me at the other end of the driveway, but they're nodding like they can. Yeah. And they're probably whispering under their breath, like, thank God, like we can't, like, they can't hear us. So they're spread out, we clean every single class. We've, again, invested in cleaning supplies that are putting us in the red each month, because that's the right thing to do. And, it's one of those things where you have to put people first. And if something doesn't make sense from a safety standpoint, we're not going to do it. I put out on March 15th or whatever the date was that the state mandated that we needed to close, I put out a really raw and emotional video where I really just talked to the camera, and I get emotional thinking about it right now, because like, you just have no idea what's going to happen. You have no clue. And a lot of it, all of it is pretty much outside of your control. And we have worked so hard to build this thing. From the ground up. And it's like, man, like people will not have work who have families. Like people will not get to move and sweat and laugh and have fun and get out of their house. The stories that we hear about the people's lives who have been truly changed by what we do at the gym is incredible. And it's not something that we take for granted. And quite frankly, like, it's one of those things where I take a step back and I say, we have a responsibility to our gym membership to keep pushing, right? Because one, they're helping us build this business that one day hopefully will be a lucrative endeavor, right? But at the end, like without them, this is nothing. It does not exist. And at the present moment, so much of this is my purpose. And so it's like, you know, it means a lot. And I think as long as you're coming from a place of, I'm going to make the next right decision for the people, for the masses, then you're going to make the right decision, or at least the one that, you know, you can sleep at night with.
Right. Amazing. Let's talk about your support circle, because that's always been something I've admired and just knew you had. I mean, you have a tremendous support circle. You do surround yourself with winners. I know some of your friends. How important is it to you to make sure that you're surrounded by people who are pushing forward and who have you become a better version of you? Yeah,
I mean, it's everything, right? Like if you're surrounded by, I'm going to lower my seat and probably sink down a sec. There you go. If you are surrounded by negative people, like energy is contagious, right? And if it's one of those things where you are just having to constantly fight off negative vibes, you're treading water, right? But if you can get around people who are constantly challenging you to look at the positive side of things, like not accepting complaining, right? Like I say all the time, I have no room for people who complain. None. Like I'm like, I'll just kind of tilt my head like my dogs do when I say you want to go outside. If someone's complaining, I'll be like, like, are you sure you want to talk that way around me? Like, because there are people who have it so much worse than us. And again, having been through what I've been through, right? And we can dive into this as we go, but like losing my dad, losing my little brother, like in the ways that I did, it's one of those things where like these little inconveniences, man, people's days seem to get thrown in a tizzy over the most minor things. An order getting wrong at the salad shop, like what really? So for me, it's like if you vibe with my mindset in terms of like how you want to carry yourself, how you want to approach when things go wrong, or things go wrong in how you thought they should go, then we're going to get it. Like, then we're going to click, right? And if you don't have that, then I'll challenge you to see something a different way by putting it in perspective. And some people, you know, unfortunately are going to take more work to get to that point than others, right? Other people eventually know how you operate and they get with it and they get in line and they're like, okay, like when I'm around this dude, I need to level up. And I hope I have that impact on people. Some people are going to jive with it. Others will find it annoying. I'm sure I find myself annoying at some points, but at the end of the day, I've been incredibly fortunate to double down on the really good people I have in my life and then seek out also awesome people. I think the gyms have been kind of a catalyst for that, in the sense that it's one of the phrases that we use all the time is it's good people finding good people. And there's a contagious energy to these gyms where if you are a negative person, you're going to walk in and you're going to be like, why are they all so happy? You know, that's how we roll, right? That's how we roll. So that's what I want more of. That's why opening more of these gyms, even when I look around and I see our training staff, right, who I challenge very much on a daily basis to level up and say like, listen, you got to check your shit at the door. You need to put on an experience for these people. We all have stuff going on, but it's our role and responsibility to just be positive forces in people's lives. Like that's what our job is. Soon enough, we're going to look around and like our team is going to be 5 times bigger. And we're going to have 50 trainers who embody this same mindset. That is something that I'm so excited for. And will be like honored and humbled to lead, because like you're creating this little army of just like positive, badass people. Like that's cool. Like that's very cool. So,
and the world, let's face it, the world needs more of that, especially now more than ever. You know, I mean, that's incredible. And I will admit that I was one of those people working out with you. I just remember when you looked at me like with the head tilt, and I was like, this guy's not going to tolerate me bitching about this one particular exercise he's making me do.
I'll listen. But eventually I'm like, all right, well, we still got to do it, don't we?
So you live in Westfield, right? And your grandparents live in Westfield, and so does your mother. So talk to us about, I know you have a very special bond with your mom. I mean, I see it, all over social. And then, I know she means a lot to you. So talk to us about your relationship, your special bond with your mom, and then your grandparents. They're very instrumental in your life as well. So
Yeah, just special people. Grandparents were high school sweethearts at Westfield. Great grandparents actually lived in Westfield too. So like the running joke is that they're stuck with us. And then my mom and I, we couldn't be more similar. Where we are two peas in a pod, as she would say.
mhm,
Just a special, like one of the toughest people I've ever met.
mhm.
Been through a ton with her, from getting sober to losing Jake. Like it's just it's just us. And when somebody can walk around with a smile on their face, having endured what she has, again, it just kind of sets the precedent for like, everyone's got something going on. Some people, you can't even imagine the pain that they've gone through. Um, and when you can relate,
Yeah.
I think sometimes you walk around, and one of the resounding thoughts that I had in my head before I got sober, and again, I was truly depressed and anxious. Like that was, I think, to be honest, and it's something that it's an interesting time to be talking about this, something that I've had rolling around my head. And I'm sure that a lot of people who have maybe been in the same circumstance, I genuinely feel, as I take a step back now, 4 years removed, I think that my issue was more so that I was insanely depressed and anxious to the point that I was suicidal. That was my issue, right? Is that I was depressed and anxious, and I wasn't taking responsibility for my life. So my choice method of overcoming or numbing myself was alcohol. I
Right.
don't think that I'm your quintessential alcoholic in the sense that I can't stop drinking and therefore I'm depressed and anxious. I think I was depressed and anxious, therefore I just wanted to drink to fast forward.
Yeah.
So ironically, as I sit here today and having conversations with my buddies this past week, I'm like, you know what? Like, I do feel like I could have a beer and be fine because I'm in such a good place,
Right.
right? They're like, is it worth it though, man? Right? Is it worth it to even like tinker with that? I'm like, nah, probably not,
Yeah.
But the point being is that when I was going through that and I was at my worst, I honestly think that the predominant thought in my head was that no one can relate. No one understands. I'm alone in this. I'm losing my mind. That's what I thought when I was so lost.
Yeah.
And to know that what I feel now in relation to losing my brother specifically, like she gets it. She
Right.
gets it and then some.
Mhm.
Um, so that's a very special bond because I'm like, you get it.
Yeah.
And I think everybody probably has someone, hopefully they know, that no matter how lost they're feeling, how sad they're feeling, how whatever they're feeling,
Mhm.
know that somebody else gets how you're feeling is the antidote for, that aloneness that can come with all those really troubling feelings. And it's, I'm so blessed to be able to say that like my mom, yeah, my mom shares the same pain I do,
Yeah.
because I can confide in her. And it's, when it's your mom, you don't even have to talk. You
Right.
just can sit.
Yeah.
So mom and I go up to Maine at the end of the summer together every year. Since Jake has passed, the first year and second year, I completed my first and second half Ironman, and dedicated kind of those performances to Jake. And then the past year they canceled the race, but we still chose to go up, and that was a big deal for me. Like to just go up, not race, but just spend time away with mom, because it's important that we kind of just get away and have time.
Yeah.
And so super supported by her. My grandparents are very special people as well.
Mhm.
I think so much of who I am is a testament to who they are.
Nice.
Uh, I'm just so many people support me,
Mhm.
and I do live with a sense of guilt in the sense that I don't feel like I deserve that support all the time. But part of my mindset now is go earn it every day, right?
Mhm.
And it feels really, really good when
Mhm.
you start to feel like you deserve it.
That's great. Oh my gosh. You created and dedicated a race to your brother Jake. Can you tell us about the race that you created? I was a part of it and was blown away by it. So tell us a little bit about that race.
So we started a nonprofit in Jake's memory called the Tooley Legacy Foundation. And it's also very much in memory of my father. So, we lost Jake in a home fire, and, he was going to be a sophomore in college. So super young dude. And it was just an event that you would think you'd see on TV, and, you'd see it on the news and you'd be like, wow, that is absolutely heartbreaking. And then it happens to you and it doesn't feel real. Yet there's, vivid images in my head of me punching out a window, jumping onto my roof, seeing fire spit out of my home, like jumping onto my front lawn off of the roof to look at my house burning. Like, it's stuff that I'll never forget. Right. And, so it was just one of those things where, man, like, life just came to a screeching halt for a year. I was really broken for a year. Luckily, as I said, like, for me, physical fit, like test of endurance, I've always been an outlet for me to pour anger, frustration, all of that into, just pour feelings into, which might not be the best outlet, but it's definitely better than some others that I've chosen, clearly. Yeah. And so that was something that I dedicated myself to that first year. And what I wanted to also dedicate myself to was being a part of the community that supported us so much. Like, the town of Westfield and the community at large supported us immensely, to the point that it was just like, man, like, people are this good. And it was like shocking in that way. A bee just fell down, so I'm gonna make sure I don't get stung. Just a little friend over here. Anyways, the town supported us immensely, and it was so touching. But here's the thing, as you alluded to, my mom was from Westfield, my grandparents were from Westfield, my great grandparents. I was the coach at the high school, like, you name it, we were embedded in this community. And so, not to say, of course, people supported us, but we certainly had our hands in town long enough that people knew who we were. And my thought was like, man, what if people didn't know us? What if we just moved here and this happened? Like, would people have rallied behind them? Like, I don't know. I would like to think so. So the purpose of the foundation, and something that, quite frankly, to be transparent, I'm still figuring out how we're really going to do at a higher level, is to be there when true tragedy strikes, right? Be, just as much a part of potentially saving someone as we can be. And so we put on the Night of Lights 5K. We had over 1,000 people race, 500 people come spectate, couple hundred volunteer. We had Garden State Radio come perform. We had the town first responders light up the park. It was the most picture perfect night ever. Yeah. Right? Like, the weather was unreal. Just so special, man. And so you could feel it too. Like, it was tangible. And that's when I presented it to the town. I was like, listen, there is a tangible sense of joy at some of these road races that we have. And I was like, we need more of that. And so fortunately enough, people came out in droves, and we really did something special. We were able to raise a couple bucks, but I also learned how expensive putting on a road race is. So wasn't the most lucrative business concept that I've ever come up, but it laid the foundation for years to come to really amplify something. And so this year, unfortunately, having had to cancel the race, something that I'm dedicating myself to do is on November 1st, I'm going to run for 24 straight hours on the track at Westfield and see if I can run 100 miles in one shot. I've never done anything remotely close to it, to be completely transparent. But it was supposed to be the day of the New York City Marathon. And I had 50 clients under me who were training for the marathon, and then they had the rug pulled out from them and it was canceled. As a business owner, I was like, well, hold up a minute. These people I can't have them canceling on me. And as an athlete, I knew they needed to be inspired. And so I said, listen, I want you to still run a marathon on the day. I still want you to raise money for whatever foundation you're, really passionate about for your reasons, from cancer, cancer survivors to, Children's Specialized Hospital, whatever it is, right? Most people are running for a cause. I'm going to run for 24 hours and I'm going to run on the track only. And I'm going to try and raise $10,000 for my brother's foundation. So I'm going to challenge you to run 26 miles, right? Run for 4 hours and I will run for 24.
Wow.
And most people are like, okay, well, who am I to quit on this guy? And so that's what we've got on tap in about a month and a half, in about 45 days. And I will absolutely admit that I am not necessarily physically prepared, but I think I'm mentally prepared. We might have froze a little here. You froze on my end. I don't know if it's me or if it's Michelle. Just me. I don't know if she's going to bounce in or not. I'll just chill. Says we're still live, so don't know.
This is what happens, live recordings.
I was gonna say, you've moved and everything.
I moved. I had technical challenges. It happens.
I think I was just talking. I don't know if I continued live on Facebook as well, but we were done.
I don't know. I don't know how it works. So, so you were talking about the 24 hours that you're going to run.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's happening and it's in 45 days. And I'll be at the Westfield track and we'll figure out the logistics of it. It'll be on November 1st. So I'm encouraging pretty much anybody and everybody to either come run 1 lap with me, to come run 400 laps with me, whatever they want to do. Run their race, do their thing, raise money for whatever they're super passionate about. And for me, I'll be out there probably slogging it and not looking too pretty, but we're going to get 24 hours done. So it will be a day to remember on my end.
Awesome. Awesome. So I have a couple more questions I wanted to ask you, Sam, particularly around growth and personal development, because it's something, and mindset is something that I know you're focusing on, because you can't do, like everything is rooted in mindset, right? So I know you're a big believer in that, but then you're also committed to personal growth and development. I see that you're always reading and learning and growing. So talk to us about both of those things and why they're important to you.
Yeah, I think it stems back to, quite frankly, I live every day with a chip on my shoulder, and I kind of embrace that. Like I lean into the fact that I have a chip on my shoulder, and I had one when I was growing up, from being like the little guy on the team of every sports team, to my friends being stellar athletes and me needing to find my thing, to being a mediocre runner, quite frankly, when I started, and just saying like, I'm going to put my head down and I'm going to get good at this, to getting kicked out of college and feeling like a failure. You name it, I always just kind of felt like the underdog, and whether I did that to myself or not, it's just how I kind of perceive things. And so I do kind of feel like I'm making up for lost time now that I have my head on my shoulders and I know what it takes to be a successful human, right? And so, I think working on yourself to get better and to operate, from a place where, you just feel optimized and you feel on point and on purpose and all of those things. Like that is the ultimate goal, right? Is how, how good can I feel, right? That's what I'm chasing, right? Is how good can I feel, and not from a bad or destructive place, but like what makes me feel good now is feeling all those things on point, on purpose, and whatnot. So the more I can find tips and tricks and little mental cues that help me do exactly that, whether that's waking up before the rest of the world and reading and writing and, going for my run and training my ass off, to eating well, like to helping people believe in themselves, like whatever it is that fills up my bucket, I'm going to double down, triple down, and quadruple down on, because like there's no better feeling. So for me, I'm always taking a step back and evaluating and making sure that I am pushing forward to get better in whatever capacity I can. I'm not perfect by any means. And so I think that there's plenty of things that, if I'm being candid, are lacking in my life, right? Whether it's like a social life to whatever. I'm just super driven right now, and I didn't operate as I am now. Always. And so really it's just a matter of like, listen, while I got it, let's roll with it. And I think so much of that comes down to your mindset.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I see, I see in the morning sometimes, because you're very active on Instagram. What's your Instagram handle?
Coach.Sam Tooley.
Thanks.
Coach.Sam Tooley.
You'll see if you follow the guy that he's up at like 4:30 in the morning taking pictures of the streets of Westfield that are completely empty because he's going out for a run. Like, how do you keep that aggressive early morning rise routine you got going on?
So it's ironic too, because honestly, most days it's not to train. Most people are like, oh, you get up early to work out. Most days it's up early to like read my books or to journal, right? And like I just sit at this desk and I look out of town to town, because like I just find that when the world is calm, I do my best thinking, and I go so fast all day, right? I'm just moving. My schedule is like, it's insane for most. And I need that slow start so I can go fast the rest of the day. So I need to read, I need to write, I need to meditate in the morning, because if I don't, I just feel off and I feel like I haven't taken care of myself before I go do everything else. So for me, it's like, if it makes me feel good, right? Even though to some it might be inconvenient to get up early, like if I feel good, why wouldn't I do it?
Right.
Maybe I've warped my mindset to feel that way. But at the end of the day, that's okay. That sounds like a good mental trick I played on myself.
What's your advice? So there's a lot of people out there who are trying to get back into the swing of things, right? Whether it's like fitness related or diet related, or I don't know, maybe they're just struggling. Maybe COVID had them get the COVID-15 and then some. I don't know. What advice do you have for people out there who, like a health or a fitness tip that you would maybe want to share?
So I've got a couple, right? And I think that these are all valid and good. I think first and foremost, start tomorrow. Like, don't wait till next month. Don't wait till Monday. Like, just like everyone wants it to always be perfect and outlined, and they want to plan and they want to feel like this, that, and the other thing. Like, stop waiting and just start. And even if it's small, even if it's, I'm going to go on a 10-minute walk, right? To start the day, and I'm going to get my head right. Or, I'm going to order some meals online to be prepared, as opposed to waiting until dinner to figure out what it is that I'm going to do. Like, just start and stop making excuses. Stop waiting until next month. New Year's resolution thing to me, right? Where it's December 3rd and they're like January 1. I'm like, what are you wasting the next 27 days for? Like, that's like you could be where you want to be in a month. So it's start tomorrow is number one. Number two, which I think is probably very much in line with that, is consistency trumps intensity, right? So everybody wants to go full tilt, 100%, like all out, and that's great, but it's not sustainable more often than not. So my advice is always like, I'd much prefer to see somebody exercise for 20 minutes, 5 days a week than 1 hour twice a week.
Right.
Like, and because then eventually it becomes much more ingrained in your weekly routine, your daily habits. And it's just more sustainable, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's been something I need to learn myself, quite frankly, where I am a perfectionist. I'm pretty OCD when it comes to my training and whatnot.
Right.
So sometimes just a little bit of something goes a long way. And checking the box for the day is more important than having this picture perfect plan and all that. And I think the last thing that I would leave people with is, and this is kind of like the hard truth that I typically end, you know, kind of these podcasts, lives, etc. on, is no one is going to do the work for you. No one is going to hand it to you. And it's not easy for anybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's two lines of tangent that I'll go on, but they have the same purpose, right? So people see me running around town 100 miles an hour, right? Like literally running very fast.
Mm-hmm.
And they go, wow, like running is so easy for you. And I'm like, is it? Like, is it easy? Because I'm about to puke on your front lawn. It ain't easy, right? So just because somebody, makes something look easy, right? If they're working to 110%, 110% for them is just relative, right? It's just, it's perspective. And so one, there's so much that goes into getting to a certain level. I forget the line where it talks about Picasso, right? And they talk about his painting and he did it in 3 seconds, right? And they're like, how much for the painting? And he's like, $30,000. And they're like, it took you 3 seconds. He's like, it took me 30 years.
Yes.
Right. And so I think for me, like, I've been running for 10 years, right? Like it's a huge part of my life and I work my ass off, but it's taken hours and years to get where I'm at, right? And it ain't easy.
Right.
And the second part of that is one of those things where, it's my life was on a trajectory like this, kicked out of college, rehab, depressed, anxious, whatever, right? It took me to hear a girl share her story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where my foot went from tapping to my stomach turning in a knot to the point that I literally had to leave the room and catch fresh air to calm myself down. And the reason that I had to do that was because she struck me to my core. And what she said was, you don't have to live this way anymore. You have a choice and it's your responsibility. And I was like, it just hit me hard. And I was like, so I luckily, I don't want to say I had the courage, but I had the courage to go in and pull her aside and I said, what you just said was where my head's been for so long, but I haven't been able to articulate how I've been feeling. And she said, she just repeated herself. She said, you don't have to live this way. You have a choice, but it's your responsibility.
Right.
And like my life has not, people look on from social media or whatever, and they're going like this now.
Yeah.
But if I didn't take control and do the work and fight, quite frankly, I don't know where I would be. And it was only until I took responsibility for my actions that things started to change, because nobody ever held me accountable. Nobody ever like backed me up against a wall and said, you need to fix this. They just let me off the hook. And they're like, we get it, man. Like, you've got this going on. You've got that going on. Like, until you take ownership over your life, nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
Sure. And so like, those are the two things, is that it's not easy for anybody, even if they make it look easy. Right. And no one's going to do the work for you.
Right.
If you say you want to change, if you say you want to get in shape, if you say you want anything, recognize the work that it's going to take to get there. Understand that you have to commit to doing that.
Right.
No matter what comes up, no matter how you feel, no matter the inconvenience, and just take ownership over it and say like, yo, like, this is what I signed up for. I either want it badly enough to do it or I don't.
Right.
Amen.
Amen.
People want to run a 3-hour marathon, and when you lay out the plan and you say, yo, this is what it takes, they're like, never, maybe 4. I'll do it in 4 then. Right. So the goal has to match the work you're willing to do, and vice versa.
Amazing. I am so grateful that you have given us some of your time and your wisdom.
No worries.
You always inspire me, Sam, and you keep going. You have so many cheerleaders in your corner. We admire the work you're doing. We appreciate the work you're doing. We get your good energy coming through loud and clear in everything you do. So
I appreciate it. I like your whiteboard behind you as well.
thank you. Yeah, I know. I saw it in some gym somewhere, and I thought that's a good idea.
Whiteboards are good. If you can see, I don't know if I can do this, but I got one that
see it.
takes up my whole wall. So
I see it. It's good.
Whiteboard people.
Yay. All right. Thank you so much, Sam. And thanks for bearing with us during the technical issues and all. And thanks for your time. And I'm sure I'm going to see you. So
you're stuck with me. So you're welcome.
All right. Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye.